guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a story titled Terminated, Company Says I Can't Sue. And guys, this is definitely going to get some of your blood boiling when you hear as I get into this particular story, because this is about a guy, a manager in a company who is wrongfully accused of certain things and ultimately gets fired, right? And you're going to see here, obviously, he didn't do anything wrong at all, but was accused anyway. And that seems to be the knee-jerk reaction to how things are handled nowadays. Fortunately, this guy doesn't take things lying down. And ultimately, you're going to see in the end, justice, he gets justice. But not without going through a lot of BS in the process. And I'm doing this, guys, just to show you how important it is for you guys to be very careful in the workplace. I've always encouraged you not to date anybody in the workplace, flirt with them in the workplace, nothing. The workplace is where you earn your money and go home, nothing more. And of course, having meetings, make sure you do it in public, people can see it and so forth, because you're going to see what happens to this guy. But like I said, guys, this happens, unfortunately, to a lot of guys. They didn't do anything wrong, and obviously it's decades of built-up bad, resentful feelings from certain gals. And these things do happen. So you just got to be careful. But ultimately, like I said, you guys, you're going to see through the story. It's going to get your blood boiling, but this guy does come out on top. It's a little longer, but I think you'd like the story. So getting right into it, he says, I held a management position at a company. I asked a non-management employee of the opposite sex to step into another room to discuss her performance away from other employees. Bad idea there. She was going through a divorce and had made a few mistakes, and while I didn't want to embarrass her, I did want to make sure that the mistakes were addressed. She acknowledged it and thanked me. An hour later, I was escorted from my office by security and was informed by my boss that a S-word harassment complaint had been made and proper protocol was to suspend me. I asked what it was and was told, we need to investigate, I can't disclose that. So, guilty until proven innocent. Or let's be honest, you're oftentimes guilty until proven guilty. No explanation, no, he has no idea who it's from, what it's about, any of that stuff, just boom, you gotta go. Just like that. Unbelievable. He says, he assured me that it shouldn't take too long, and if I wasn't guilty of anything, I'd be paid for a timeout. I again asked what the accusation was, and was told that there was going to be an ongoing investigation, and I was not permitted to know, but they had questions, I would be contacted. I wasn't happy, but knowing that I didn't do anything wrong, I left the building. Well, he walked out there thinking, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so nothing's going to happen to me. Well, wrong. You're going to see what happens here. He says, later that night, I received a notification on my phone that my email password was incorrect. After 2 days, I called my boss asking for an update and was told he was not available, but I would hear something soon. I bet you a day felt like a week to this guy. Unbelievable. I began calling daily and received the same response. Finally, I received a letter in the mail informing me that I was terminated for exposing certain things and requesting S-word favors from an employee. The employee listed was the young lady I had pulled into the side room. There you go. He wanted to have a meeting with her, but he didn't want to do it around other people to make her feel embarrassed, because he obviously had to bring up some issues where she needed improvement on, and he gets wrongfully accused. Unbelievable. This poor guy. He says, I immediately called my boss and was told he is unavailable and said to say the matter is closed. My buddy, the IT guy, messaged me on Facebook asking what happened, as he's been told to deactivate my accounts. When I told him the whole story, he replied, you took her into the X room? Dude, there's a security camera in there. We keep it in there, so we always have the camera on. Sure enough, he pulls the footage, and there I am, holding a pile of papers, pointing to them, and keeping my pants on the whole time. Well, there's video proof that this guy didn't do anything. Thank the Lord for that. I left a message for my boss that the alleged incident occurred in a room with surveillance, and that I would be contacting an attorney and subpoenaing the video record. I received a call back 15 minutes later asking me to please participate in a phone conference with him and HR. Isn't it interesting how his boss was unavailable all the time when he was trying to find out what was going on? But then he calls up and says, hey, I've got evidence and I'll be contacting an attorney. 15 minutes later, his boss just happened to be available to call him back, requesting that he come to a conference because they know their butts are on the line here. The conference went as expected. They didn't realize it had occurred in a room with surveillance. They had a zero tolerance policy that they have to enforce. You can't be too careful in this day and age, and they regret that this didn't come to light sooner. They don't regret crap. Guilty until proven innocent, but honestly, if he didn't have this footage, guilty until proven guilty. Now listen to this. Apparently, they've already replaced me. As it wouldn't be fair to terminate my replacement as she's done nothing wrong, they don't have a job to offer me back. They got a replacement that quick for this guy? However, as a gesture of goodwill, they're going to pay me through my suspension, change my file so it reads that I voluntarily resigned, and provide me with good references. I don't think so. You wrongfully terminated me. You didn't tell me what was going on. I have proof I didn't do anything. And you think I'm just going to let this go and go on a different job and not get anything from it? Not a chance in hell. He says, I replied that wasn't acceptable. They made a false accusation against me, withheld vital information that I could have easily refuted, refused to take my calls, and completely failed in their own investigation by not checking video footage that would have immediately exonerated me. They asked what I thought would be fair. I told them they could immediately terminate the employee who made the accusation and either give me my job back or pay me 1 year's salary in addition to what was offered. There you go. How about that? They now have proof, video proof that she wrongfully accused him. That's a reasonable request. Get rid of her, amongst other things. But how do you think the company handles it? He says, my boss said that he could not discuss another employee with me and that neither of those options are feasible. The only options I have are what he already offered. Bullshit. I replied that the options I gave are the only ones that I'm not going to sue the company along with the employee. My boss replied that I signed an agreement when I was first hired saying that I would take all disputes through arbitration and that I waived my rights to sue the company. I do not remember signing the agreement, and I have not seen it, but it apparently says that I will take all disputes to arbitration. I will bear the cost of arbitration, and I will accept the decision in arbitration. He stated that I will not fare any better in arbitration than he's already offered, and I'll be out of the money to cover the arbitration. I wouldn't believe a word this guy says. Why listen to the people that you actually may have a conflict with and potentially sue? He says he doesn't remember signing it, so he probably didn't, and this guy, obviously, the boss representing the company, is lying through his teeth. But you'll see, guys, this gets better. He says, I feel like I'm being bullied here, and I don't think he would have scheduled a phone conference with such immediacy if he didn't think the company was vulnerable to a lawsuit. Trust your instincts. I'm waiting on a callback from a few employment attorneys. Do I have a case? Am I wrong to feel this is unacceptable? Hell no, bro. You're acting exactly as you should act. She should be fired for accusing you, and you should obviously get some serious dough out of this. Okay, they were in the wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do a full enough investigation. You're wrongfully terminated, and some other girl has taken your job that quickly. I think a year's pay is certainly well worth it, amongst other things. And of course, contact attorneys. Now we're going to get into the updates. This is where it starts to really get good here. He says, quite a bit has happened in the last few weeks. A friend of mine at another company, after hearing what happened, told me his company had an opening. I applied, interviewed, and at the end the manager asked what I'd like to be called. 2 days later, I got a call saying that they've gone with another candidate. My friend admitted to me that he'd gotten some flack for recommending me. Apparently, HR had worked with one of the employees in my former company and called the employee to ask what the deal is with me. To which the employee responded he got fired for S-word stuff with a subordinate. I think he's actually being charged criminally. So again, if it wasn't bad enough already what this guy went through, now he can't get a job that he wanted because they contacted his old company, and you see what I mean? Unbelievable. He says, I'm literally crying as I type this. It's a nightmare that won't end. Long story short, I lost my shit. Called my old company. The boss wouldn't get on the phone with me. Oh, imagine that. The boss is no longer available again. I had an attorney draft a letter of demand and send it off. Had another phone conference scheduled. They once again regret that an employee provided a reference outside the prescribed channels. The employee was coached on the proper way to handle such request. My attorney informed me that in addition to wrongful termination, we'd be adding defamation to our complaint against them. They are just screwing themselves over and over again. What a bunch of idiots. They insist that they have not broken any laws and they cannot control the actions of an individual employee who went against company policy. Too late, too bad for you. So we're at an impasse there. Either I move ahead against them or I walk away. At this point, I'm ready to drag this through court. I try to take the high road and go elsewhere, but they're regretting a lot that they've done to me without any action to correct it. Oh, I almost forgot. A few days after my last post, they sent me a packet of papers, standard non-disclosure notifications, COBRA, and a blank copy of the arbitration agreement for me to sign. This is the thing they want him to sign. I wouldn't sign anything from these guys. And also, something for him to sign. But they claimed he signed that in the beginning when he started working for them. So they obviously either didn't know or that guy was lying through his teeth. Big surprise there. He says, why a blank when you ask? Well, it seems somebody effed up. They weren't making people sign when I was hired, and HR never bothered to have me sign when I worked there. I, of course, have signed nothing that they sent me, including that agreement. This is about going through arbitration through the company and not being able to sue them. I considered allowing arbitration if they pay the costs, and I have approved over who is selected, but my attorney has advised not to do that. Listen to your lawyer. I wish I had better news to report. Things aren't as hopeless as they first seemed, but not as fixable either. As for the employee who made the accusation, I know you're eager to hear, but at this point I can't comment on what's happening there. Thanks for all the advice and support so far. I promise to update with everything resolves, if not sooner, as much as I can. That is the end to update number 2, and now we're going to get into the final update, what happens. And believe me, guys, this is worth it because justice is served. And he's going to break down to what exactly happened behind the scenes with the whole accusation, where it came from, because believe me, it's not what I expected when I read this. And of course, the nice ending, which we're going to get here. He says, final update. He says, everything has been resolved, and I've been wanting to give you guys an update, but had to wait until my lawyer gave me the okay to talk about things. So let's start from the beginning. Now, he's going to quick review what happened, but he's also going to tell you about what's happening behind the scenes when he found out. So this may sound like I'm saying the whole thing over again. Just bear with me here. He says, so let's start from the beginning. I pulled one of my direct reports, Deborah, into another room to discuss a few mistakes she made. Deborah's the girl that did this. She did not, but did not discipline her further. After this, she went to Joyce, one of the managers above me, but not in my direct line of report. Equal to my boss in terms of reporting structure. When Joyce heard that I had taken Deborah into another room without any witnesses, she said to her that it was unprofessional. Apparently, her exact words were, you could accuse him of being inappropriate, and I would have no choice but to believe you. Unbelievable. So, it sounds like Joyce has been in the business for a long time, and she is bitter and spiteful and just wants to, give men a hard time. That's what this sounds like to me, and wait to hear more of this. This was repeated several times with a strong emphasis on no choice. Joyce then asked Deborah if I had been inappropriate with her, saying it will only happen again if you don't speak up now. If you do now, we can take action. So this female manager, is coaching this girl to make false accusations. Unbelievable. I mean, what an idiot for this girl to go along with this, but welcome to today's world. Am I saying that all are going to be like this? Absolutely not. But all it takes is one, and you're toast. And here's the thing, guys. The guy lost his job, tried to get a job another place, and they contacted the old job, and he couldn't get that other job. So it's not like you just lose your job because of this. This could stay with you forever. It's horrible this happens. Anyway, taking the not all subtle hint from Joyce, Deborah accused me of doing certain things, and I was placed on leave pending an investigation. Joyce immediately sent out an email that nobody besides the secretary was to speak with me without an attorney present, and told the IT guy, Paul, to deactivate my access. James, my boss, had a resume from Terry, an employee in Joyce's department, applying for my job before close of business that day, and she was hired. So this Joyce character that got this whole thing started, got that girl to accuse him, had somebody waiting, another woman, to take this guy's job. I told you guys your blood would boil when you heard what was going on behind the scenes here. He says, Paul and I talked. He provided me with the video proving my innocence. The company continued to stonewall me and refused to talk to me. When they did, they attempted to push me into arbitration and to retroactively sign an arbitration agreement. which thank the Lord he did not do. He says, I cut my losses, took another job, and was ready to move on. Sandy, an employee in Joyce's department, broke protocol, talked to HR at the new company, told him I had done these things to a subordinate, and cost me the job. So another woman working with this Joyce character was out to get this guy. I mean, what's the deal here? So that brings us up to date. My attorney and I launched a civil suit against the company and Deborah. Bet you're wondering how I know the above. Well, good old Joyce said she'd protect Deborah if she came forward. Unfortunately, that only extended to her job. So when she was named individually in this suit, corporate told her that they would not be providing her with an attorney. What a great company to work for, huh? And I'm being sarcastic here. After realizing that she'd be putting her house up for collateral, she was all too willing to throw Joyce under the bus. Well, there's a surprise. Joyce went to Paul, the IT guy who was one of her reports, and gave him a list of footage to be procedurally wiped as part of the archive clear-out. He pointed out that the incident with me was on that list and part of an ongoing investigation. So now Joyce is trying to destroy the evidence. Joyce told him that it was no longer needed and to go ahead and wipe it. He refused, citing the fact that it would still be requested in the event that the suit was moved forward. She told him to pack his things and he was being terminated for insubordination. Unbelievable. Now the IT guy is doing his job, doing the right thing, is going to be fired for insubordination. He called the company attorney and informed her what had happened. The aftermath. Several things happened at once, so I'll try to keep them as chronological as I can. Deborah's attorney contacted mine stating that conditional on me dropping the suit, she would admit that she lied and explain what went on behind the scenes. Dana, the company attorney, got the call from my attorney with the details from Deborah shortly after she finished talking with Paul about being terminated for refusing to destroy evidence. Deborah and Joyce were terminated for cause that day. Paul was told his job was safe. Hallelujah. Both those women, especially Joyce, the manager who orchestrated this whole thing, is gone. Now I gotta wonder, is somebody gonna find out what she did at another job? Probably not. He says, my attorney received a call and it was made clear that the company didn't want this to go any further and wanted to talk, wait for it, settlement. Cha-ching. He says, I won't go into all the details, but what I can say, and guys, I keep having to rub my nose here because my allergies are going haywire. The weather here in Massachusetts has been like a roller coaster. So I know it's disgusting. I keep rubbing my nose here, but my allergies are killing me trying to get through this video. He says, I won't go into all the details, but what I can say, I was offered my job back with a very fair increase. I received back pay for the date of suspension, and a public apology was offered from the very top. Terry is now working in Joyce's old position. She's incredibly cool about things and felt horrified when she found out what really happened. James and I are good now, and he has personally apologized for not sticking up for me. This will likely be my final update. There is still some legal battle going on, but I can't go through that too much. Thank you for your support and encouragement. You guys rock. So, justice is served. This guy, those two a-hole women were fired. His buddy got his job back. And yes, this guy got his job back and an increase in pay. Now, here's the deal, guys. In my opinion, I would never go back to work for this company at all after what happened. No freaking way. Okay? Personally, the settlement I would be going for is he'd get a huge lump sum payment from the company and moved on someplace else and obviously have a public apology and get rid of those two that started this whole mess to begin with. That's what I would do. But if he's happy with this, okay, fine. He got his job back, public apology, and they probably would never mess with him again, and he got an increase in pay. And of course, those two were fired. Good. But the point of this whole video is, guys, you got to be careful. All right? So any meetings or interviews, best to have it that people can see you, what's going on, or there's surveillance going on or something. Because look what happened to this guy. He's an ordinary Joe, just doing a employee review, pointing out things that she needed to work on or whatever was going wrong. Next thing you know, because of some other angry, bitter woman that was wanted to cause trouble, had convinced this young gal to accuse him of these things. It's terrible. Okay, who would do that? But the world we live in, and it's like people might say, "Oh, that hardly happens, SSM." Well, all it takes is one time, and to screw up one life. You spend your life working on your career, building up your reputation. You know, the old thing about how you can take years building up your reputation, but it can be destroyed in seconds. See what I mean? So, guys, just be careful in the workplace. I know a lot of you guys may see women that you like, you're attracted to. Best yet, keep work Business is business. That's where you earn your paycheck. Don't get involved with any your coworkers. If you leave the job, then maybe then. But aside from that, they're there on the job. You're doing your job. You can enjoy looking at them. They're eye candy. That's it. And even then, be careful how you look at them. Otherwise, you could be accused of something. I kid you not. And as for interviews and things like that, you heard this story here. You got to be careful. So hopefully this story, you guys are going to hear this. People are going to hear this all over the world. Will definitely help you out to prevent anything like this like that happened to this guy. But thank the Lord, justice, in a manner of speaking, is served. He got his job back. He got an increase in pay. And those two were fired. I'm going to assume this company won't make the same mistake twice, especially with him. But hey, we'll see. Anyhow, guys, thought it was a good one to go over. That is it for today. Be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.